The Sahaba companions said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, أَيَأْتِي أَحَدُنَا شَهْوَتَهُ وَيَكُونُ لَهُ فِيهَا أَجْرٌ. They were shocked. They said, one of us, we're fulfilling our basic needs and urges and passion and lust. Do we get a reward in having sex as well? They asked the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, أَرَأَيْتُمْ, tell me, what do you think? لَوْ وَضَعَهَا فِي الْحَرَامِ أَكَانَ عَلَيْهِ وِزْرٌ. If this person went and fulfilled his sexual desire in a haram way, wouldn't he be sinful? He said, yes, O Messenger of Allah. He said, فَكَذَلِكَ, likewise, إِذَا وَضَعَهَا فِي الْحَلَالِ كَانَ لَهُ أَجْرٌ. If he fulfills it in a right, halal, lawful, legitimate manner, permitted manner, then there's reward for it. Hence, sexual intercourse, sexual intimacy, sexual relations is an act of what? Sadaqah, ibadah, and sadaqah. In the words of the hadith, that's why I have a section in this book where I've got sex is charity. Have you heard of that? One of the charities. That doesn't mean you don't give to the poor and needy and all that. Different forms of charity. It's like, subhanallah, like one brother said to me, when I had a talk, I mentioned this was a talk on marriage, not this talk. But it was a talk on marriage, and I was just saying that your relationship with your spouse. The brother said, is it okay now that I don't give my zakat? My zakat is every day in the bedroom. So that charity is something else. That's your monetary charity. This is your charity to your spouse, to your wife. So, we have to remember this. It's even an act of reward. But, act of reward, there are rules, there are regulations. Marriage in itself is an act of ibadah. Marriage in itself is an act of ibadah. We have to consider it to be an act of ibadah. It's not a mundane, worldly activity. It's an act of ibadah. It's worshipping Allah. You're marrying so that you want to become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want to gain proximity. You're marrying so that you spend a life with your wife, with your husband, with your spouse, and help one another become close to Allah. You want to preserve and guard yourself from all the unlawful, فَمَنْ وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَمَنْ وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ, from all the unlawful ways of fulfilling your lust, from all the unlawful ways of fulfilling and gratifying the sexual desire and sexual appetite. Lust outside of marriage, okay, so it's permitted and rewarded. Gratification outside of wedlock is unlawful. Not just that it's unlawful, but there's two opposite ends here, brothers. There's two opposite ends here. There's no middle way. There's two opposite ends here. What did the first line say? Islam stands. Sexual needs fulfilled within marriage are permitted. Not just permitted, permitted and rewarded. And the other extreme is gratification outside of marriage is not just unlawful, it's sinful. You either get a reward, it's not like you won't get no reward and no sin in the middle, no. It's like, there's two hadiths about business and trade. That's another topic. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned two hadith. He said those traders, those businessmen who are truthful, التاجر صدوق الأمين, and trustworthy and does his trade in the Sharia compliant way, will be with the prophets and the righteous and the Anbiya on the Yawm al-Qiyamah. And the one who's a fraudster and deceives everyone and lies will be raised as an absolute sinner. تُجَّارُ يُحْشَرُونَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فُجَّارًا إِلَّا مَنِ اتَّقَى وَبَرَّ. Which means that there's no middle tradesman, there's no middle businessman. Either you're really bad, that you're going to be raised as a sinful fajr, or you're so good that you're with the righteous and the prophets and the martyrs. Likewise here as well. You fulfill your desire, you get a reward. And you do it, you fulfill it with halal, the right channel. And if you go beyond that, then it's sinful and disastrous, and not just unlawful and sinful. And then the last line, disastrous to the well-being of the human social order. This is very significant, very important. Today we see a lot of problems in our communities. Problems in marriage, problems with children, drug abuse, and all the different problems we find. Much of it has to do with the wrongful usage of one's sexual lust and passion, sexual desire and the lust. A lot of the problems we find, the whole system, the family system, the breakdown of the family system. Man is having an affair at work with somebody else. The wife is having an affair. The breakdown of the marriage. There's no sexual, compatibility between the man and the woman has an impact. They end up in divorce. How many divorces take place has an impact on the children. Children grow up without the love of the father and the mother. Some of them get depressed. Some of them turn to drugs. They don't get the attention and love of their father. So they end up going and seeking it elsewhere. 13-year-old girl gets pregnant. And she's mentally disturbed. It's the whole social order, everything. And then lineage. So one of the main reasons Islam has prescribed nikah is the preservation of nasab. We have hifdhul nasab. We have 5 universals in Islam. Al-maqasid al-khamsa. They call it al-kuliyat al-khamsa. One of them is, there's 5, I don't want to go into them, but one of them is hifdhul. What we mean by the 5 universals is that all the rules of Islam from A to Z, they've been prescribed for the preservation of these 5 things. Everything from beginning to end, all the laws, do's and don'ts, they should preserve 5 things. And one of them is the nasab, the lineage. All the rules of marriage, all the rules of divorce, all the rules that are there to preserve the lineage. Islam places a great deal of emphasis on nasab. You need to know who your father is. That's why if a child who is adopted by parents, it's unlawful for the adopted child to attribute himself to his adopted parents. You have to say the real father's name. Rules, because Islam doesn't want the mix-up and the contamination of lineages. Very important. Hifdhul nasab. But we live in a time today that over 50%, this was an old survey that they did, over 50% of people, of children, don't know who their father is. Ask them, they don't know. Their mother had 6 boyfriends. She slept with about 7 different people. Could be him, could be him. Just look at him. Maybe he's black, maybe the black man. If he's white, maybe it's the white boyfriend she had. It's a problem. We live in a time. Fornication is rife. This desire. So lust outside, yes, this last point. So we have this lust. Now lust, we said the right way is the halal way, the nikah, marriage way. Lust outside of marriage is never ending. This lust outside of marriage is never ending, can never be satisfied. It's an addiction. This is very, very important. This desire, this lust. If someone becomes a slave to the sexual desire, someone becomes a slave to their needs, they want to fulfill it in any way, shape or form. It's not in the halal, middle, channeled, controlled, restrained, restricted manner. Then what happens? It becomes an addiction. It's like drugs or even worse. This is a major problem. Seriously, brothers. It becomes an addiction. It's never ending. It's never ending. One's desire will never, scholars have written on this, one's sexual lust, desire, passion and lust will never end. There's no ending to it. It's like the disease where a person is so thirsty, he can drink 200 bottles of water and he'll still remain thirsty. Is there a name for that illness? What's it called? In Arabic they say Jew, like there's a special istiqa or something. That's, or like someone's got a scratch, Ju'al Baqar, someone's got a scratch. And the more you scratch, the more you want to scratch. You just never feel satisfied. You're harming yourself, but you never feel satisfied. And this is the lust that is frowned upon, that is unlawful, that's sinful, that's dirty, filthy, dangerous. People then just carry on and on and on, and especially with men, more than women. But it's within women and men, males and females, but within males, it's a never-ending desire. It becomes dangerous. It's an addiction. Sometimes it starts off from a young age. Sometimes when you're in your teenage. But most of the time it's earlier on it starts. And it just continues in your life. Like I gave a talk a while ago, somewhere here, that it continues. It becomes a disease. It doesn't even stop when after marriage. And the person thinks maybe there's something wrong with his wife or something. He gets married second time. He gets married. I told his brother he wanted to marry. I said, if it's a disease, you could have 600 wives and still not be satisfied. I didn't say 600, but I used a good number. It's a disease. And that's why we find in this community that they're bored with women now. So they want men. They want to try different things. They're just those who are addicted to porn. One porn leads them to soft porn, to a slightly more upper level of porn, and then an upper level of porn, and then hardcore porn, and then porn that includes violence and things like that, and all the things that's available. And that's why it leads to people then to try with animals and with all sorts of things. And like I was saying, that rape is rampant and it's quite prevalent. If you see, based on the studies and the research and the surveys that's been done, that in these countries, a lot of the modern and civilized countries, where sexuality is open, everybody's open about sexuality, highly sexualized communities and societies, where a man and a woman can fulfill their needs. You can have sex with anybody you want, more or less. A man can fulfill, there's prostitutes, there's anything if you can't get anybody normally. But more or less, they'll just go to a nightclub or something, they'll find somebody, and they can. But still, yet the surveys, they say that the percentage of rape in these countries is far more than those countries where it's difficult to find a woman or a man. Much more. Rape. Why? Percentage of rape. Why would they rape? Why do they need to go and force someone to have sex? Just go to a nightclub. Or if not, worst case scenario, there's a prostitute. Just £10, £20, £30, £40, I don't know, whatever, 10 pence. Still, there's rape. You know why? They've tried it voluntarily. They're bored with that. Now they want to do it by force. It's a desire. It's a lust. It's a never-ending desire. They get bored with it to the point that you know this. You must have read this. And in some cases, some people are not satisfied until they are not violent. And some of them go to the extreme that they want to have sex with a woman, and then after that they'll murder her. That's where their desire. That's their fantasy or their fetish or whatever you want to call it. They'll kill her afterwards, they'll take a knife, or they have to stab her, or they'll cut her body open and then play with blood. And there's all sorts of filthy things. People are, they're disturbed. They have some type of fantasies where they want to play with the filth, the dirt of the human, the human being. Urine and things like that. I've got a small section in there, but I never thought I was going to talk about, write about it. I've just got a small section. Somebody said just add it in. Because even between husband and wife, we need to know some of those rules. But people get disturbed. It's a never-ending sexual desire. This lust outside of marriage is never-ending. You can never be satisfied until you destroy your life. The person destroys his spirituality. If he's a Muslim, he destroys this worldly life. He's not productive enough. He becomes isolated. He becomes this kind of person. He becomes isolated, and he becomes what? Someone who likes to remain by himself in seclusion, and he likes to, he can't face people. He cannot talk with people. He has this sense of inferiority complex. He cannot be open. He cannot express his feelings. There's a lot of problems that can be talked about. You will never be content. A person will never be content, right? And even, like, there's examples I gave about rape and things like that, homosexuality. There's also incest. You know what incest is? It happens within the family. There's no difference in the Western culture than some of these modernized cultures. I don't like to say the word Western. I avoid saying that because it's not about East or West. We're Muslim in the West as well. But some of these modernized cultures, what happens? There are cases, like there was a case in Germany, there was a brother and sister, they were madly in love and they wanted to have a relationship. So a while ago, there was a brother and a sister in Germany. Do you know about it? No? Anybody know about it? You know about it, yeah? There was a news. Actually, they interviewed them and they just, they were talking. I remember watching that interview. A few years ago, I think. I can't remember when. I think it was step brothers and sisters or real brothers and sisters, I'm not sure. But this was in Germany. And they were madly in love, they wanted to marry, they want their rights to marry, just like gays want their rights to marry. It's a sick, perverted society. Now, because it's never ending, It's never ending. Some forms of unlawful usage of sexual desire and lust. Number one is zina, we all know. Right? Absolutely haram.